Welcome back, everybody. So Live Alive released just a few months ago and it left quite an impression on me. I think it was a very well done remake of a Square-Enix classic that we never got to play in North America, at least properly. It was well received. It sold over 500,000 copies so far, and I don't think the HD-2D train that Square-Enix has kind of let out of the station is going to stop anytime soon. We have the Dragon Quest III HD-2D remake coming down the pipe, and that's really exciting because Square Enix is obviously confident enough in this style to start treating some games in its flagship series the same way. So that's opening a lot of potential doors, and I'm pretty stoked for it. So no, this list, keep in mind, it's not a most deserving list, it's a most likely to occur list. And this is based off of the research I've done and a little bit of my own intuition, having followed Square Enix for a long time. So also keep in mind that some of the spots on this list will have multiple games, if not entire series. And that's just to cover as much ground as possible in one video. So let's get right to it and see what's number 10. The Soul Blazer Trilogy. Now, I'm going to explain why these games are so low on this list because they don't deserve to be. So the Soul Blazer Trilogy consists of Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terranigma, and these are all great games. Here's the issue. There's a copyright issue potentially. So originally when I was making this list, Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, Terranigma all had their own individual spots on this list. But they were all made by a company called Quintet, which partnered with Enix back in the day as their publishing partner. So Quintet went defunct, and now we don't really know what's going on with the copyright. Their president has seemingly disappeared, and there's rumors of criminal activity having taken place as well. So yeah, so there's that. But there is a little bit of hope. ActRaiser, which is another Quintet property, has been remade by Square Enix, and it has been released on the Virtual Console in the past as well. But the issue here is Illusion of Gaia, Soul Blazer, and Terranigma have not. They haven't even had so much as a Virtual Console release, really, since their original run. And it's not like these games aren't popular. Terranigma just had a big fan campaign trying to get it re-released. And Terranigma was never released in North America. It was only released in Japan and Europe, so it's perfect to be redone in the HD-2D style because it had such good word of mouth about it. It has a great pedigree. RPG fans know about it. So I think it'd be a win. It's just a matter if they can get the copyright fixed. And all three of these games totally deserve to be redone in this style. It's just a moot point if they can't get the rights to the game. The other thing too to keep in mind is when the Square Enix president told Tomoya Asano to make more HD-2D titles, and Tomoya Asano started looking at the SNES back catalog, ActRaiser was one of the first games along with Live Alive to come up, which is kind of a curious choice for me because Terranigma just seems like such a better fit than ActRaiser does for the HD-2D style, so that could also be an indicator of where the rights lie. But hey, that's pure conjecture. I don't know for sure. There is hope that it could be done. We just don't know how much. Seventh Saga and Mystic Arc. So both of these games, unlike the action role-playing games that Quintet produced for Enix back in the Super Nintendo days, are turn-based affairs. And they're quite unique as well in their visual style. They had quite good sprite work for the time, and I think they are prime candidates for a remake as well. Mystic Arc in particular, it was much more well-received than Seventh Saga was, and it was billed to be a sequel to Seventh Saga. If it was released in North America, it was going to be called Seventh Saga 2. But alas, it never was released here, which is more the pity, but it has a great reputation in Japan. It has better gameplay systems than its predecessor and is an all-around better RPG. And since it wasn't released in North America, you'd think it'd be a no-brainer. But there's another issue with these two RPGs. I'm not being down on the Enix ones on purpose. There's another copyright issue. Produce, the company that made these RPGs for Enix served as the publisher, has gone defunct as well. The only reason it's not lower than the other RPGs in the number 10 spot is because it's a little bit more nebulous where the publishing rights lie. So I think there's a better chance for these games, but once again, there hasn't been much activity on their front in terms of Virtual Console or otherwise. But irregardless, both games have their fans, and I think getting another Japanese exclusive RPG into Europe and the United States would be another win for Square Enix. I think it's just these two games in particular might have to do a little bit more playing around with their visual style, especially when it comes to combat. These are two games that would do well in the HD-2D treatment, Mystic Arc in particular. It's just a matter if Square-Enix actually holds the copyright for them. Secret of Evermore. I think this would be a really interesting title to get the HD-2D treatment. I just don't know if it's going to happen or not. So Secret of Evermore was released in North America and Europe, and it was never released in Japan back in the day. And it was developed by the North American team of Squaresoft. So I think that'd be a really good treat for Japanese gamers. They get to play this kind of weird RPG they've heard about back in the day, but never got a chance to play for their own. And how cool would it be for them to get it in the HD-2D treatment as well, with maybe some gameplay tweaks. Very much like Live Alive was with us here in North America. And you think that's something Square Enix would put into its calculations. There's this weird JRPG that was made in North America, but it was never released in Japan, and we own it. But we'll have to wait and see if that's how they think. And Secret of Evermore, it's really confusing because it got the Secret of title back in the day when Secret of Mana was released, and it's really confusing how this game related to the other, and it didn't at all, at least in terms of lore and development team and all that stuff. Very much it had Secret of Mana-esque gameplay and a similar menu system, but its magic system was really different. It was kind of alchemy, and you needed ingredients to cast spells, and it was quite a bit more convoluted than Secret of Mana was, but it was still a really good game. It was very well received. It has a ton of fans. But the other reason why this game isn't higher on this list is just they haven't done anything with the property in a long time. They haven't even re-released the game on any of the virtual consoles, which is a damn shame. So it seems like it's been forgotten, but hey, Live Alive came out of left field and surprised us all. So if they could do the same thing with Secret of Evermore, man, what a treat that would be. That would blow the socks off of so many people. So there definitely is at least a little bit of a chance it could happen. Chrono Trigger. Now, if this was a most deserving list, this would be at the top, but it's a most likely list, so that's why it's a bit lower. And there's nothing against the game itself. Chrono Trigger is an RPG darling. Its reputation has only grown over time, and it's constantly at the top of greatest RPG lists. It's got really fun gameplay, great music, a fantastic story, and beloved characters who are still thought fondly of to this day. There's no reason it shouldn't be remade. The only issue is I don't know if anyone at Square Enix has the cojones to actually tackle this type of project. Square Enix seems very reluctant to do very much with the Chrono franchise. There was a rumored third game, Chrono Break, that was never made. And we did get the Radical Dreamers edition of Chrono Cross. We have had ports of Chrono Trigger, but I mean, the last good one was on the DS. The one for PC was abysmal, so I'm almost like maybe they should just leave this game alone. But even having said that, an HD-2D remake would be fantastic. It would sell gangbusters. It'd break the internet. It would trend on Twitter. It would sell so well. It's a sure win. They would make a ton of money. I just don't know if they're going to do it. It was made by the Dream Team, and it's just kind of like, it's like taboo. They dare not touch it. It's the crown jewel. You seem very hesitant to tackle it, which is a damn shame for the rest of us. But I still think there is a glimmer of hope this game could happen. Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen. This game was made by Yasumi Matsuno back when he was working with Quest, and he is the same man who made Final Fantasy Tactics. Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen is usually overshadowed by its more famous sibling, Tactics Ogre Let Us Cling Together. But the reason why that game isn't on this list and this game is because the other game is being remade currently in a different style. And Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen has a good case going for it. It was a commercial success at release. It sold all of its copies. It's got really good visuals that hold up to this day. And with some added difficulty options and some fixes to any of the gameplay issues the game might have, it's gonna be incredible. With its already dizzying array of units, recruitable characters, hidden maps, and multiple endings. And ArtDink, the developer of Triangle Strategy, have worked on the Ogre Battle series in the past. They've already shown they can do the tactical role-playing game genre. I feel like the strategic role-playing game genre would be an easy segue for them. And personally, I'm sick and tired of seeing Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen constantly be overshadowed, and nothing's been done with it since it was remastered a little bit for the PlayStation 1. So I think it's a great opportunity for it to finally step into the limelight. Plus, it's my most rented ever game, I think, from Blockbuster. I lost track of the amount of weekends I played this damn thing, but I'm ready to play it again. Secret of Mana. Now, I know I have some explaining to do with this pick, but bear with me for a moment and I'll try and explain myself. So as we all know, Secret of Mana has already been remade not too long ago, but did you play that game? It was not very good. I could get past the somewhat clunky looking visuals. I could not get past the sheer amount of bugs that game had. I think that is the most amount of times I've ever had a game crash on me. Thank God for autosave or I wouldn't have been able to get through it. And I think the HD-2D treatment is probably the way Secret of Mana should have been remade the whole time. Not only would it be an action role-playing game in the treatment finally, but it's also couch co-op, a multiplayer HD-2D title. Holy shit, that would be incredible. And I think this would be a great attempt at doing that game justice. And let's be honest, Square-Enix isn't against selling us the same game over and over and over again. It's just with this pick in particular, I think it very much is a high likelihood of being done. It just might be a while. I think there's so many other games that are deserving of being remade first versus Secret of Mana. I just think it has a high likelihood of coming down the pipe eventually. And it would be great to visit this world again, flying through it on Flamey's back, seeing all the beautiful locations in HD 2D. The game still looks incredible just on the Super Nintendo or through emulation. Just with a bit of a facelift, it could really be something special. But it would need a little bit of a gameplay tweak, I think, too, particularly when it comes to combat, but I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So that's why it's so high on the list. And let's face it, the remake of Secret of Mana needs a remake. Bahamut Lagoon. So this is another game for the Super Nintendo that was released late into its life cycle, and it was only ever released in Japan. North American audiences never got a chance to play it. But it sold very well in Japan, over 500,000 copies. It's got an interesting grid, turn-based hybrid style of RPG combat. You get to raise dragons in it. It's known for having good gameplay, good story. It's not without its issues for sure. I feel it's similar to Live Alive in a lot of ways, and it would just be an easy win for Square-Enix to just give that type of treatment to and release here. But I think it would maybe need a little bit of gameplay tweaking before that was the case. But even with that, I think it has a very high likelihood of being released here eventually. And it's one of those RPGs that's still quite well known outside of Japan. It's just a lot of people haven't gotten a chance to play it, kind of like Live Alive was. So I feel like if Square Enix is happy with Live Alive's performance, Bahamut Lagoon would be a natural next step eventually. So I think very much we will see it. It's just a matter of time. Final Fantasy 1 through 6. It's gonna happen, guys. It's happening. Look at the pixel remasters. Final Fantasy 6 already has a scene in it with HD 2D. It's only a matter of time. They're already doing Dragon Quest in HD 2D. You better bet that they're going to be doing the same thing with Final Fantasy. The only real question is, what game do they start with? My desire is Final Fantasy VI, and I think Final Fantasy VI could actually be done in this style. Same thing with 5. Both of those games have not been remade like the other 4 have been, and I think it's long overdue. I feel like Square Enix is very hesitant, particularly in 6's case, to tackle it. I don't know how they would do that game justice in making it in full 3D. I don't even know what that would look like. And I feel like the HD 2D style would fit perfectly with that. The first thing I thought of when I saw Octopath Traveler for the first time back in the day was Final Fantasy VI in that style. First thing I thought about. And if it came down to doing 5 or 6 first, I feel like they'd probably do 5 first. Just because there'd be so much pressure on getting 6 done right, they might use 5 as a bit of a trial run. Nothing against 5. I know it has a ton of fans. I've played it. Just 6 in particular seems like it'd be quite daunting to tackle. But we all know it's not going to be 5 or 6 first. It's going to be 4. They want to sell you Final Fantasy 4 again for the 100th time first. But in all seriousness, all these games, they'll sell well. They're fairly low risk for Square Enix. They'll definitely get their money back and then some. And they're always remaking these games in one form or another. Well, at least the first 4. So I think this would be a very safe way for them to do 5 and 6 as well. We'll just see which ones they do first. I know I'm gonna get lit up for probably saying this incorrectly. Treasure of the Rudras. So this was the last game that Squaresoft released on the Super Nintendo. It was never released in North America because the next gen was already happening and they just didn't think it would compete well in that market, which is fair. And the reason this game is so high is it just seems to be the consensus is it's just such a damn shame we didn't get this game over here. Apparently it's a very well constructed game. It's gorgeous on the Super Nintendo. It's got a cool magic system where you form words together to create spells. The plot has 3 different branching stories you can jump in and out of at will. It's a classic turn-based affair too. And all in all, it sounds like it's the best Japan-only RPG Square-Enix has that's never made it to international audiences. And after hearing all that and how well it's been received critically, and I think it sold quite well in Japan too, this game seems like a shoo-in for the HD-2D treatment. After what happened with Live Alive, I think this and Bahamut Lagoon have excellent chances of making it over, and I would be shocked if it didn't. Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6. And while this list is mostly Super Nintendo focused, the Dragon Quest series kind of muddies the waters there a little bit because the series creator of Dragon Quest has teased remakes in the HD 2D style for Dragon Quest 1 and 2. So those would probably come first before anything is done with 4, 5, and 6, but I think all the Dragon Quest games that were done in the pixel art style will be completed in the HD 2D style as well. It's just such an easy win once again for Square Enix. Dragon Quest always sells so well, particularly in Japan. Anything else outside of Japan, I think is just gravy at this point. And with the Dragon Quest 3 trailer, we've already seen how beautifully they would transition into this new style and their classic turn-based RPGs. So it would really appeal to that older demographic that I feel these HD 2D titles really is a hit with. So I don't think there's really too much of a case to be made with these 3 games. They're already doing 3 and they're gonna get to the other titles eventually. It's just a matter of what order they decide to go in. So that's the list, everybody. I know there's some series that didn't make this list from Squaresoft's catalog, like Front Mission, for example, but that's simply because they're already getting remakes in a different style. That's not the HD 2D style that I've been talking about in this video. And then there's the Saga series as well, but they've already gotten some remasters and re-releases already, so I just didn't really know how likely it would be that those games would get the HD 2D treatment as well. If you have thoughts to the contrary, definitely let me know, and if there's any information that you think would affect my ranking, please let me know in the comments. I love looking up stuff like this and just the likelihood of games being remade or re-released, and I just like the history of video games in general, so definitely give me a holler, okay? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the list. I hope you learned something new, and as always, thanks for joining me for another game break. See you soon, guys.